meeting of the trustees of Lamesa Independent School District is now in order. It is 6 o'clock on August 25th, 2025. A quorum is present with all trustees except Cindy Martinez. This meeting has been duly called and the notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551. Mr. Ritchie, would you lead us in prayer?
Yes, if you please bow with me. Dear Lord, just thank you for everything you do for us here, and thank you for our students. Thank you for our community. Thank you for this board, the leadership that they show. Just continue to bless this school year. Continue to bless our teachers, just all of our staff and our students and our families as we continue to try to move forward and do great things here in Lamesa ISD. Just thank you again for allowing us to be safe as we come and go, and just let everybody be safe on the way home tonight. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Has anyone signed up?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Someone make a motion for the previous, what would that be? Do we need to make a motion for the special board meeting or anything? Or the last time we met, or budget?
No, ma'am.
Was
No.
it considered? Okay.
No, that'll be in the September.
The September? Okay.
Yes.
So, you're up.
Yeah, we got Mr. Scott.
I know this information in front of you, you guys have had.
This is the public hearing. Yeah, you're doing the public hearing part first. Hey, give Mary Lou the respect. She's here. She's here.
So do we normally present during
Yeah.
the public hearing?
Yep. Do your thing.
Twice?
But you can go faster in the public hearing.
Okay.
Just talk about the tax rate and just
Sure.
the basics of it.
So Lamesa ISD has posted the maintenance and M&O tax rate as well as the debt service tax rate. So the proposed tax rate for the M&O is 0.7162, which is a decrease in the tax rate from a year ago, but because of increased property values is a 4.5% increase in collections. The INS debt service proposed rate is 0.2215, which is a 1.9% decrease over the debt service rate from a year ago.
Good job, Scott. Can we go ahead and jump down? Are y'all good? We go ahead and jump down to the good stuff. All right.
Yep.
Okay.
Let's take the leash off. Let's go.
All right.
Richie, let him cook.
Yeah. That's what I
I
thought
was
he
not
was doing.
prepared for the public hearing aspect of this. All right, so let me work back here. So I believe the first thing on the agenda is consideration of possible action for the budget amendments. So the first page in front of you, I believe, is a food service, Fund 240.
This is the littler of the two.
Yeah.
It's this one right here.
So, it's at the top, it's Fund 240, Child Nutrition. So, our collections, both from the student lunches and charge meals throughout the year, some of those are staff meals, community meals, other items, but the local revenue is down significantly over what the budget was originally set for, and the federal revenue is up a little bit, but you'll see on the amendments a suggestion to increase the expense budget for food services of $60,000. What's not in front of you is the fund balance. So we have a little over $400,000 in fund balance in the food service account. So we won't need to take anything out of the general fund to pay for that. In fact, we looked at that a little bit today because in the last couple of years, they've increased the amount that you could hold in that fund. And so wanted to make sure we didn't have too much because we can't exceed, I believe it's 6 months of operating expenses in that fund. And at $420,000, that's about 3 months operating. So you won't need to amend, or do a transfer from the general fund, but I did want to amend the budget to reflect the expected increase in expenditures. As we said today, there was about $8,000 unencumbered in Fund 240 for the 24-25 school year. But with school starting back and expected items coming in, I didn't want to risk having expenditures exceed our revenue for the 20 days that the kids are here in August. So that's what we have on that number. Any questions on the food service fund? And then the second sheet you'll see is the proposed budget amendment for the general fund. There's no change in the total expenditures. Always makes me a little bit nervous trying to make sure that we've got everything in. I'd make calls and talk to folks, making sure we didn't have a large item coming through that we didn't know about. The salary accruals concern me a little bit. So what we did is look at the unencumbered balances throughout the different functions and made recommendations on moving those funds around to make sure that we covered the incoming receipts through the end of the month. And as we talked about in our workshop, we'll have a credit card statement and some other items that will come in late. And so just wanting to make sure that we have funds available in those functions to meet those. So you can see through there an anticipated increase in instruction based on the salary accruals particularly for classroom teachers as well as paraprofessionals. So because we've got 20 days working in August, that will move back in September. And so wanting to try to make sure we meet those funds. So increase of $203,000 on the current budget, anticipation of salaries and other items coming back from September. Function 12 is the media services or library. Again, that had in terms of activity, it did have a balance, but I believe it was $5,000. So we went ahead and just raised that up. And so as you look through that middle column, what you'll see is that we've moved money around between the functions. So I'll go ahead and bring you all the way down to the midpoint where it says total expenditures. Those numbers match. It is 0 in the middle column. So we're moving money around from functions. You can see that we took quite a bit out of student transportation. I believe that there's over $300,000 still unencumbered at this point. No expected large fuel renewals or anything for August, so we were able to move those funds. And then you'll also see under security and monitoring, because we had previously amended that budget in anticipation of purchasing SRO vehicles. There's excess revenue there, excess budget money that can be moved around as well. So those are the two big areas that showed funds to handle through the end of the month. So those were reallocated, and then you can look through the different functions. Some of these, the guidance counseling, just adding a little bit to that. Health service, same thing. Food service, we had an expense there, so just adding to that. And again, this is just positioning us for any receipts that come in and anything the auditors might move back. So the plan is that this covers all the expected moves and that we don't have a finding as far as being out of balance on any of our functions. I don't expect that we'll have any unplanned expenditures. So just because we're moving these things and position them doesn't mean that we're spending it all down in the last 5 days. Just, again, preparing for what may come in. We had a deficit in that Function 81 through the activity, and so we talked about that last week as the light project, our portion of that, and so that's why the 140 was added to that function to make sure we had enough in here to cover. And that's more than enough unless there's something else coming in that we didn't talk about. Any questions on the general fund amendments? Ma'am?
No.
All right. So the next document in your stack is a notice, a public notice. This was in the paper. Just wanted to point it out to you again. The M&O tax rate of 0.7162. That is a rate that years ago we had a lot of autonomy to do, but starting about 8 years ago as they began to compress the tax rates, we now have documents that we have to complete to calculate that compression. And so that 0.7162 represents the highest rate based on our prior year rate and our collection, property values, all the things that kind of go into that. That is the highest rate that we can set. That is actually includes not only your tier 1, but those golden pennies that we exercise every year. And the debt service rate, it's an interesting thing. I think I talked to you guys not last week, but maybe last month about the changes from the legislation this last session, that if you over-collect in your INS collections, that they have added a formula, so to speak, into your M&O, and they're going to remove your excess collections out of your M&O state aid. So it's really important that we do our best to try not to over-collect on debt service. It's Austin telling us that they don't want us to pay down the debtor. So we have set a rate. At that rate there, if we collect exactly 100%, and I can show you this on another page in a minute, but I'll just, we're actually going to just under-collect by a very small amount. At some point, we do have a debt service, and we'll talk about that when we go to the actual budget amendment at the end, or I'm sorry, the actual budget. But in the future, one of the things we'll possibly want to talk about is are there elements of the bond that we are to a point that are eligible for the payoff. So at some point, if we're sitting on $1.3 million in the INS fund balance, then that may be a consideration. But those notes are set up in a way that you can't just pay them off like you or I might do with a car. So just something to think about there. But that debt service rate, to go lower, they were going to remove the state aid for debt service debt, the hold harmless on the INS side. So if we tried to give our local people a lower debt service rate, the state was then going to lower their contribution to our INS. So that was as low as we could go without losing state aid on debt service. If we went up above 22.15, then it was going to affect our state aid on the M&O side. So we really hit the best number we could to not lose aid. I thought that was important to you and to the community that as we're setting rates, we're always mindful of what we're asking them to contribute, but we don't ask them to do more, but we also don't want to in turn reduce what the state's contributing, and then that just in turn cycles back and adds a burden to our communities. So just to explain that a little bit, we really tried to set the rate at the best position for everyone. you don't have any questions on that, the next sheet is just showing you a little bit about what goes into calculating the rates. It's a tax rate calculation worksheet. I'm not going to go through that all the way through with you. It's a lot. But it's a thorough process of taking prior year tax rates, prior year property values, taking your frozen rates, your 313 amounts, and working them into this formula that calculates what they call the no new revenue tax rate. So I will just point out to you on, usually look at this in a scrolling document. If you'll look on page 4 of that document, all the way down to number 35 has the current year no new revenue M&O tax rate. So that number is 0.748531. 74853. So that is, we are coming in below the no new revenue. And then right below that, you'll see the no new revenue INS tax rate at 0.2948889. And again, at 22.15, we're well below the no new revenue. Any questions on the tax rate calculation? And then the final piece is the proposed 25-26 budget. You'll have at the top, you'll have the maintenance and operations, which include Fund 240 food services as well as the general fund 199. You can see the local revenues that are estimated there, as well as state revenues and federal revenues. We talked last week about losing SHARs in the
Special
the
ed. Yeah.
Yeah. And in the Fund 199, the general fund, you can see those numbers there. The function numbers have moved this week over last week, but your bottom line expenditure number has not. So that 21,528,539 is the same number that we looked at. Food service we talked about earlier, we were making amendments. The local collections down just a little bit. Some of that's probably can be affected by weather, whims of what food choices are available. A lot can go into that. And declining enrollment, fewer kids in school, there'll be fewer kids going to the dining hall. So you can see there the expenditures, and then underneath that 89, you see the net revenue and other resources, and the budgeted deficit, which is the same number that we looked at last week. I want to point out the estimated beginning fund balance of $13,634, which was the fund balance. That is an estimate, right? Because we're looking at, as we close out the 24-25, I did go ahead and calculate a loss for 24-25 into that fund balance to lean on the conservative side. And with a budget, if we stay on budget, I don't see us going over budget, but if we stay on the budget, you can see the estimated ending fund balance at the end of 25-26. Just 11,453. you have any questions about the general fund, 199 or 240?
I know I told you earlier today I wasn't going to ask questions, but I've got a couple of questions.
Okay.
So how many popsicle sticks did you bring?
I didn't bring them tonight.
Okay. Just looking at the differences, and you may can tell me tonight, or you may need to get back to me. Like on the student pupil transportation, function 34, going from a little over $1 million down to $875,000. Is that the bus? How's that difference?
So we
scored down,
had-
which is good. I'm not.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So in our
Exactly.
in the 24-25 budget, there was a budget item for a new route bus. So there's $200,000 in the 24-25 budget for a new route bus. So working on this budget, I took that number out. We're going to look for grants and other things first. We want to build I've shared with that before, I want to build a plan for looking at the age of our fleet and having something that we can all look 4 or 5 years out and plan around. So I went ahead and took that $200,000 out there.
That's what I was thinking. And then function 36, extracurricular,
Yes, sir.
went from 1.3 million to almost 1.6 million.
Yes, sir. That is the new activity bus.
That's
Yes,
most
sir.
of that's that bus.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's what I figured.
That may not be all of it, but that's 200.
That's the biggest chunk of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how much of the deficit is the note or the loan, I guess?
Close to $1 million, about 800,000.
Yeah, when you calculate the expenditures for those vehicles and other, as well as the loan payment, it's about $800,000.
Two buses and,
Phone, because I have
SRO vehicle, yes, sir. 5 SRO vehicles and the 2. I got it in the HVAC.
the HVAC is
160, I believe, 162.
162.
How are we on the SRO vehicles?
I met with Chief today, and they are all in Lubbock, and they're waiting on a few more things to get outfitted, but he feels like they're going to be here pretty quick. So,
Boy, does it get one, does he?
no, sir, he does not. Don't tell him I said that, though.
scooter.
So what's the amount in function 81? The 79,485, unless that's the same from year to year.
Yeah, I just kept the number the same, Kevin. There was, I don't think there's anything on that I'm aware of that's intended
We're
for
not planning
purchase.
to, 81 is used for renovations and
Yes, sir.
building.
There are no plans, no,
No
sir.
plans.
No, sir.
No, and if we were to have a second HVAC unit go down, they may not all be the same size systems, but that's not going to be enough to cover it. If we,
And then the 210,000 there at the bottom, function 99, is that just
yes, sir. So
Presel
that's
District?
our payments for
Presel District?
for the CAD and
Yeah. Okay.
So are we still on track for 24, 25, I guess? Like we talked, or did something change?
So I don't know that anything changed. There is when I calculate those numbers for you, when we pull the foundation FSP, part of that includes your local collections, your state aid, but one of the items on there is the state's aid toward the INS debt, right, the hold harmless. And they put it all in the same document. So when I gave you that number, there's a little over $200,000, about $260,000 in INS support that I was calculating in that number. Okay, and I think when I told y'all last week, I was hopeful on a balanced budget, but I might be off. I was trying to hedge maybe $200,000, but that was without that. So I think we could still be close. I think we could still have a settle up larger than what we talked about, but maybe more along the $400,000.
Even with that 650 something that's going to be moved over?
Yes, sir, because they're going to move that into the positive cash side, but when we budgeted last year's revenue, I believe the original budget was 26, and so that, up to this point, the state payments have been under that. So I did not realize that in this number for you guys because I didn't want to double count it when I was looking at what we had projected. So I look at what the state payments are going to be. They're going to be short of that state revenue on the current budget through August, and then we'll have to settle up and bring it back.
And the 97.3 and other revenues or other resources?
Yes, sir. So that's the anticipated completion of sale on the old bus barn. It's helping.
And what does this include, this proposed, what does it include? HB2 and anything else?
Yes, sir. No, this is the same numbers we went over, and then Mr. Ritchie emailed out to you guys. So this includes the $755,000 one-time expenses for the remainder of bus number 2, the SR vehicles and HVAC unit. Also includes new spending of $805,000 from HB2, and includes the expected increase in electricity cost.
Which correct me if, you went pretty big on that.
I did, yeah. I went heavy on it because it's only the new rate's only going to, whatever our new rate ends up being, is only going to hit. It's going to hit in May and go through the end of August. But without sitting down and going through the 12 months of bills, assume that over half of our electric usage for the year happens in those last 3.5 months. And so I went ahead and inflated that electric usage, expecting the majority of our electricity bill is going to fall in the last quarter.
Have the auditors given you any hint as to when they'll be out?
Yes, sir. There'll be, it's on my calendar. I believe it's the first week in October, around the week of the 5th. Somebody can check me if that's the start of the week or not. Any other question on the M&O before I take you down the debt service at the bottom? So you can see there the INS, the local revenues will go down a little bit because of the homestead exemption going from 100,000 to 140,000. We're all expecting that to be voter approved in November. And also they raised the over 65 exemption as well. So with that, the local collections will go down a bit. And you can see the state hold harmless. That's that 261 that I was telling you. I pulled into the M&O numbers. And so total revenue expected 1.612569 on the INS rate. Debt service payments $1,612,700. So you can see on down there net revenue. So expectation if we collect at 100% that we'll collect 131 less than needed to make the payment.
So we won't eat into any of that fund balance in INS.
Not really, no sir. But
Is
it's
that going to come back to bite us?
I don't think so because I talked to some different people to see what their understanding was as well, and so the change in process that will penalize us for over collecting is on current year. It's not a look back, so we're not going to be penalized for that fund balance. We're only penalized on what
It's
we
all
collect
moving forward
this year. So. if we miss it, if we over-collect an INS, and we end up going over that number, we've got that padding down in fund balance to do that. I would have brought the tax rate down a little bit more and made it where we were paying $3,000 or $4,000 out of the fund
Eating up
balance,
some of that.
but it was hurting us on the M&O side by doing that. So they really kind of stuck it where we can't go up without getting penalized, and we can't go down without getting penalized.
Whose bright idea was it to change all that?
They had a bill during the session to remove state aid on the INS side, I believe, right? I didn't read through those, but the bill that they had didn't pass, but apparently someone got together and said, well, we don't have to pass the bill, we can just do it over here. That's my speculating. So you can see there the estimated fund balance for INS beginning of the 25-26 at 1.314, and if everything goes according to plan, just that 131 deficit.
You done, Scott?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Did good.
thank
Use
you.
up all my popsicles.
So we got, I think you have the newer one, 3. Does it have the budget amendments on your action items?
No, it had an executive session.
That was only
Go
if we
into-
needed it.
You want to go into executive
Yeah.
session? Yep, okay. We'll now go into executive session. Mr. Ritchie will not be joining us. It is 6:32. Okay, we're now returning from executive session at 7:25. We'll move on to board action items. Consideration and possible action to adopt the written ordinance setting of the M&O tax rate at 0.7162 and the INS tax rate of 0.2215 for the 25-26 school year. Have a motion?
So what about the
Oh, I thought we do it one at a time. No?
Well, no.
Okay, 2. Okay, consideration and possible action to adopt 25-26 Lamesa ISD budget.
court one?
Okay.
She may not have.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Okay, consideration and possible action to approve budget amendments.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Consideration and possible action to adopt the 25-26 Lamesa ISD budget.
I make a motion, we approve as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Consideration and possible action to adopt the written ordinance setting of the M&O tax rate at 0.7162 and the INS rate of 0.2215 for the 25-26 school year.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. There is no further business. Meeting is adjourned.